What's up, everybody? Big Cod Diesel coming at you, and this particular video is geared towards armed security professionals. As you all know, all you gotta do is go around in the city and in the suburbs, the Metro Detroit area, and you can't hardly go anywhere without seeing an armed security guard. I don't know what the number of armed security guards are, but I'd have to get, if I had to guess, I would say there are at least as many armed security guards as there are police officers. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number one is the police are suffering manpower problems just like any other industry, probably your industry that you work in. You all know what the deal is. People don't want to go to work. The people that are working are being overworked, asked to work overtime every day, being mandated to work overtime every day. So the police are suffering from that same problem. They're having problems recruiting people, and it seems like as soon as they get people in the door, people are going out the other side, retiring or transferring. And this is not a knock on them at all. They're doing what they can do, but as business owners and property owners, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that, you have an investment. You want to protect that investment, and that's where your security comes in. Now, unfortunately, because of the level of crime, the seriousness of the crime that is occurring and has been occurring, seems in higher numbers ever since the COVID thing. They're hiring armed security. And the average job, and I've been checking on the job sites, Indeed and a couple others, a lot of times what these companies are requiring for someone to be in armed security is a CPL and 1 year of customer service experience. That's bare minimum. And again, not a knock against the people that are filling these jobs. They got a CPL. They're like, hey, maybe I want to have a career change or whatever. The money is a little bit better for armed security as opposed to unarmed security. So these folks figure, why not? I have a CPL. I've got experience working with people from other jobs. But what that means is I can work as a greeter at Walmart for 1 year or some other service industry, and then get my CPL and apply for a job. And at some of these companies, they will take that. Now, there are other companies that require much more experience, a different background, such as the contracts that I work typically require military and or law enforcement background, right? But these companies that are hiring people basically off the street to become armed security guards are really providing little to no training. As I go out and I obviously run into security guards just like everybody else, but I talk to them and I ask them, I just strike up conversation and just ask, well, what kind of training did they give you? And a lot of times, guys, in fact, more times than not, the security guard will tell me they received no training. They went and got their CPL, and that was it. The company took a picture of their driver's license, took a picture of their CPL, and put it in their file, and they were good to go. Now, again, I don't fault the person, the folks that are taking these jobs, because they need to pay their bills like everybody else. But I want to talk to those folks. I want to talk to you guys that are working security in the Metro Detroit area. If you have not received any training, I want you to think about it. I want you to think long and hard. The thing with security, and it happens whether you're making $12 an hour standing at a door at General Dollar, or if you are a freaking Secret Service agent. No, that's not a good one. Secret Service agents are paranoid by nature, so we won't talk about that. But if you're the average security guard, whether it's a lower paying entry level job or it's a higher paying job, it's easy to get complacent. It's easy to think, oh, nothing will happen. I come to the same post every day, day in and day out. I see the same people. I know these people. I know the customers. And it's very easy to get lulled into that sense of nothing's going to happen. But when it does happen, then what? When you are under stress, when you're in a life or death situation, a fight or flight situation, your lizard brain is going to revert to the highest level of training that you are proficient at. So what that means is that if you took a CPL class 2 months ago, and that CPL class in Michigan is basically a safety class, we just have to see you, we meaning fellow firearms instructors and myself, we just have to see that you can safely handle that firearm, shoot 30 rounds with a magazine change, and make that weapon safe. That's basically it. You are not learning any tactical training at all. So to get any training above and beyond that, either the company you work for has to put you through the training. They may even sponsor the training. They may hold the training if it's a big enough, well-established enough company. They may have their own firearms instructors and their own courses of fire and qualifications. Or if they're a smaller company that doesn't have their own instructors, they got to contract that out. They got to send you out somewhere to get trained. Or if you're working for a really small company, or I guess I shouldn't even say small, because there are several companies that are huge that still provide no training. So then it's up to you. It's up to you to get the training. And a lot of times when you're trying to make ends meet, you're trying to pay bills, paying money to spend a day with somebody is not top on your list. The top thing on your list is paying your rent, paying your car note, putting groceries in your fridge, and I get it. But you are taking a huge risk. Once you put that firearm on, that is a huge responsibility. It's an awesome responsibility. And I don't say awesome as in cool, I say awesome as in huge. And for those of you that work in the security field right now, if you're listening to me, I want you to think and think again. The chances of something happening are slim to none. The chances that you will ever even have to draw your firearm and defend your life or the life of someone else are actually really slim. But it could happen. And because it could happen, you need to prepare for that. So at the very minimum, you need to be taking defensive shooting courses. Now, you have to ask yourself, just when you go on your post, or if you're sitting on your post right now, ask yourself, if an armed gunman came through that door right now, would I be prepared? Would I be prepared to defend myself or defend the life of someone else? Am I physically able, not only mentally, because remember, mentally, you're going to revert to the highest level of training that you got. And if that highest level of training you got was a CPL class, which is basically a safety class, unless you've had some other training prior to that, that's been ingrained in your head, you're not going to do anything other than what you know. And if you don't know anything, you're going to freeze. Remember, the bad guys always have the drop on us because they're planning their attack, or maybe they're not. Maybe it's a spontaneous thing, but we're still the second person to find out that something's wrong. So our reaction time is already cut from that. Let me ask you something, security guards out there. How's your gear? Did you pay top dollar for your gear, for your holster? Are you wearing the proper belt to secure that holster? Do you even know what a proper belt is for that holster? Do you have a proper holster? Do you know what a proper holster is? Did you spend the money and buy the gear that you need? Or did you skimp and buy just the cheapest stuff you could find? Because I'm going to tell you, there's some things that you should skimp on, but there's some things you shouldn't skimp on. And when it comes to firearms, and when it comes to your gear, talking holsters, belts, body armor, these are things you shouldn't skimp on. Shoes and boots. These are things you should pay top dollar on so that this stuff will perform for you when it's supposed to. Do you know when you can use deadly force? I bet they didn't tell you. Well, they told you without telling you. When you look in your little employee handbook or your little post orders, they're going to give you some kind of direction. And usually that direction is observe and report, right? You can't use deadly force to protect property. You can use deadly force to protect your life or the life of another innocent person. So knowing all these things is crucial. If you're carrying a firearm and you don't know the law, because I know and you know, there's people running around with CPLs that bought them. They didn't take a class, or the person that taught the class just wasn't as good as they could be. I'll leave it at that. I have talked to people that have their CPL, and I'll ask them simple questions like, if you wake up in the middle of the night and someone is taking a 55-inch TV out of your front door, can you shoot them? And I've had people say, yeah, I can shoot them. So let's take that back to the security realm. When you're on post and you are guarding whatever, a warehouse, a lot full of cars or whatever, you need to know what the law says regarding the use of force, how much force you can use, and when you have to stop using force. So there's a lot of things that go into this, and I'm making this video again. I'm making this video for the security professional. If you're not a security professional, but you have a friend or a family member that is, show them this video. So if you are that security guard, or you know of a security guard that has not received any training, you're unsure of what your job is, you're unsure of what you can do, you're unsure of what the deadly force rules are, you're unsure if the gear you have is the proper gear, well, I got an answer for you. I got a class. I have a class strictly for security professionals. It covers the law, where your authority comes from to defend yourself and others. That comes from the law, not from your employer, not from the client. It comes from the law. Teach you some defensive shooting skills, because that's what you need, because we're not combat soldiers, so we don't need to learn offensive shooting skills. We need to learn defensive shooting skills. Now, the mechanics of shooting is the same. You acquire your target if you have the time and ability to point shoot if you don't, that kind of stuff. But when I'm talking about these things, I'm talking about shooting from awkward positions, transitioning, finding cover, shooting from cover. These are all things that are defensive in nature. So these are things that are covered in the class. And also gear setup. When you come to class, I want you to come dressed like you would for your job, so that I can critique your gear. And I can tell you right now, 90% of you have shitty gear. 90% of you buy the cheapest shit you can find, or that somebody gave you because it's good enough. Because when you go to work, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be another day, and you're going to do your job and go home. I bet that's what this guy thought. Men charged with shooting armed robbery at a Warren dispensary. 2 men have been charged with attempted murder and armed robbery in connection with a shooting at a Warren dispensary, according to Macomb County prosecutors. This is from the Detroit News, by the way, and this happened back in June. Happened back on the 12th of June, sorry. So a couple of days ago. 2 people knocked on the door of a dispensary on Sherwood Avenue near Frazo Road in Warren just before 1 a.m. Friday, the 12th. And as the 40-year-old security guard approached, an unidentified man started shooting through the glass door, striking the guard, Warren police said. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know all the details. I would love to talk to the security guard that was involved in this at some point. But I have questions. Is it normal for somebody to knock on the door at 1 a.m. at this dispensary? Is this when they have their deliveries dropped off or stuff picked up? Is that normal? Because if that's not normal, then the way that the door is answered should not be normal. maybe a little more situational awareness. And again, I don't know the situation. Maybe the security guard recognized, because they did say one of the people might have been an employee. So maybe the security guard recognized the guy and thought everything was cool. So I'm not going to get in the woods on that part, but I bet that this security guard thought that it was just another day, just going to go to work, sit at the dispensary, collect a paycheck. Nothing ever happens because weed heads are cool. They don't want no trouble. He didn't know that he was going to get shot. He probably never even entered his mind. So I don't know this gentleman. I don't know what kind of training he's had, if he's had any. He could be a retired cop for all I know. Who knows? I don't know anything about that. But I do know that this security guard probably thought it was just going to be a normal day and that nothing would happen. And the reason why I point this out is that complacency kills. You cannot be complacent. Even if you're not a security guard, the moment you walk out of your front door with that firearm on your hip, you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to pay attention to what's going on so that you don't get caught slipping. So enough on that. If you are a security guard and you know that you don't have enough training and you want to get some training, get a hold of me. I will put some links down below. I am a firearms instructor. And I do offer training for security guards. Hit me up down below. I'll send you to a link over to my page on the USCCA webpage. You'll look up, it'll take you to me, name of my business, Diesel Defense, and get yourself in there for some training. It's worth every penny. It's worth every penny. I'd rather have something and not need it when it comes to this stuff than need it and not have it. All right, everybody. Until then, you guys stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel and make sure you stay armed. Peace.